If I were to say that 2016 has been a pretty crazy year for Final Fantasy, I don't think that there would be many who could disagree. I just don't think there's ever been a year like it. I mean, we've had major leaks, plenty of new game announcements, and perhaps the largest promotional event for a video game in the history of the industry. We also had stuff happening outside of our bubble, such as follow-on from Lightning's Louis Vuitton campaign last year, and a 90s nu metal band coming for Yoshida over plagiarized music that appeared in Final Fantasy XIV. So much has happened that it's honestly hard to keep up sometimes, which is why we've broken it all down into what we feel are the 5 biggest Final Fantasy stories in 2016, starting off with the Final Fantasy disease. In May, Hajime Tabata took part in a rather candid interview alongside Tekken's legendary producer, Katsuhiro Harada. It was published by Japanese publication 4Gamer, and although numerous topics were covered, there was one thing in particular that stood out: Tabata's talk of the Final Fantasy disease within the company. What is this Final Fantasy disease, you ask? Well, according to Tabata, it refers to people within the company who can't imagine anything other than their own view of Final Fantasy. Since the root is a strong self-affirmation, one's own view of Final Fantasy takes more priority than the team's success. If that view of Final Fantasy isn't fulfilled, then they are convinced that it's bad for Final Fantasy. They think, since Final Fantasy is a special team, then we are also special because we're making it. When the new Final Fantasy comes out, everybody is going to be so into it, but that's not the reality of the situation, is it? When Tabata realized that the team were still resting on their laurels, he decided it was time to effectively tell the team off and give them a reality check. In the interview, he claims to have told them, rather bluntly, that they aren't special and they need to wake up. Tabata also notes that when he started paying attention to how Final Fantasy XV news was received by the general public, he noticed the same thing. There was a sense of entitlement which led him to say, everyone has the Final Fantasy disease. It was some pretty hard-hitting stuff from Tabata, and quite different from the typical jovial style that we often saw. In other interviews around the same time, Tabata spoke about the entire restructure of BD2 that he actioned, which saw a lot of people put in senior positions based on merit, as opposed to seniority. Ace joined the cast of Dissidia Final Fantasy. We've had quite a few additions to the cast of Dissidia Final Fantasy Arcade this year, with the likes of Ramza, Garland, Kefka, and Sephiroth being added to the roster. However, one character announcement stood out from the rest in terms of level of excitement it generated. Now, I know that Type 0 isn't everyone's cup of tea, but when Ace was announced for Dissidia Final Fantasy, people were pretty damn excited. I know part of this was down to his unique playstyle, but a ton of excitement was also related to the fact that it was a character that we hadn't seen before in Dissidia, and the fact that he was from a spin-off title. We've seen Garland, Kain, Sephiroth, etc. before in previous Dissidia games. There's therefore nothing all that exciting about these additions. But Ace? He marks something fresh and new for the franchise. It was the same when Ramza was announced. Even though Final Fantasy Tactics was a niche game within the franchise, just the fact that it was different got people interested, and it was nice to see something else get some love for a change. Here's hoping that future character announcements are met with the same fanfare. Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age announced before E3. An HD remaster for Final Fantasy XII has been rumored for a long time, and positive sentiment for the much maligned game has been growing. When Arnie Roth accidentally spoke about it during a Distant Worlds concert last year, it just stoked the fire even more. But even with all the fervor around the game, nobody quite expected Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age to be announced when it was. The news came on the 6th of June 2016, over a week before E3 was due to start, and it arrived at a time when a lot of the Western world were either asleep or just starting work. Yep, the announcement dropped around 10 a.m. GMT, which was 5 a.m. Eastern and 2 a.m. Pacific. Despite this slight hindrance, which was of course due to the fact that the aforementioned times happened to be 7 p.m. in Tokyo, there was considerable buzz around the Zodiac Age. Not only would the game be a remastered version of the expanded Japan-only Final Fantasy XII International Zodiac Job System, as opposed to the original game, it would come with some cool improvements. Environments and FMVs would be redone with high resolution, and current generation visual expressions would be integrated into the character models. There's also some re-recorded pieces of music, Japanese voiceover will be available, and there's even an autosave function being added. There's no word on a concrete release date yet, but Square Enix have said it will release at some point in 2017. Uncovered Final Fantasy XV. In all honesty, this video could have been comprised purely around Uncovered. Such was the craziness of the entire event, From leaks to reveals and even name-drop cameos, it had it all. The scary thing is that this event was crafted to signify the announcement of a release date. Yep, Square Enix invited 6,000 fans and the world's video game media to the Shrine Auditorium to announce the release date for a game. Then again, I guess it was something we'd been waiting for the best part of a decade. In customary fashion, there were leaks. Weeks before the event took place, the release date was revealed as the 30th of September 2016 by Gematsu. This was then re-leaked in the build-up to the event after GameSpot did one of the biggest screw-ups in video game history by publishing their own pre-planned news coverage about the event before it even happened. In their video, GameSpot confirmed the release date and also revealed that the Platinum Demo would be releasing. There were still plenty of things for them to reveal during the event itself though, and Final Fantasy Union even had a shout-out during the pre-show thanks to Dan Sito. Yay, yes! Aaron Paul and Lena Headey were in attendance for the unveiling of Kingsglaive. Brotherhood was announced as a companion anime series, and we got details on the Ultimate Collector's Editions. Justice Monsters 5 was also announced as a companion mobile game, but we've just had word that they're already planning to shut that down, so yeah. Anyway, things didn't stop with these announcements, as there was an animated version of that amazing mono artwork. Florence and the Machine did a nice little feature for their track Stand By Me, and we were told to reclaim the throne. As ridiculous as the event was, it did exactly what Square Enix intended, and would have been the perfect build-up to the release of Final Fantasy XV had our #1 story of the year not happened. But before we get into that, here are some honorable mentions. First up was the news that despite it enduring the worst Japanese launch since Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy XV still became the fastest-selling game in the history of the franchise, from a global perspective. Then there was the pretty awesome interview between Sakaguchi and Tabata, which you should definitely read if you have the chance. We even took some of my facts for a Tabata facts video from there. Alright, so here's the biggest story of 2016, and I'm pretty sure some of you have already guessed what it is. The delay of Final Fantasy XV, plus leak drama. After spending so much time and resources on announcing the release date of Final Fantasy XV, the last thing anyone expected was for the game to be delayed. Yet, that's exactly what happened, following an agonizing weekend in August. On the 12th of August 2016, Gimnasia posted a report that they'd heard from a source in GameStop management that Final Fantasy XV would no longer be hitting its proposed street date. Fair enough, one might say, these rumors surface all the time. What made this one particularly interesting though is that GameStop were due to start their huge promotional campaign for Final Fantasy XV on the 14th of August, and as such had been receiving all of the materials to use in the said campaign. What followed was a huge standoff between Gimnasia and the gaming community, as they just didn't want to believe it was true. To further silence those who doubted, Gimnasia posted imagery on how the promotional material would be changed. Some doubters then tried to debunk everything by contacting stores, etc. Some even did an analysis of the imagery, claiming it was all photoshopped. This continued for what seemed like an eternity, with larger publications starting out skeptical, only then to hear the same thing from their own sources. But when they posted this, they were met with backlash from a scared fanbase. Kotaku even did an article about some of the meltdowns that they witnessed and personal attacks they received. On the 15th of August, 3 days later, Square Enix finally confirmed the delay via a press release, and Hajime Tabata posted a sincere video on YouTube to give more context. In the video, he informed everyone that the decision was made to ensure that they delivered on their vision. If they had launched on the 30th of September, those without an internet connection would have been left with a buggy, glitchy game, and that's not something anyone wanted. It was a tough decision, but I still believe it was the correct one given the logistical nightmare Tabata knew it would create. If nothing else, you have to admit that Tabata has some serious courage and bravery. So, those were the biggest Final Fantasy stories of 2016. How do you feel about this year as a whole? Do you think that 2017 will be even more crazy, especially as it's the 30th anniversary of the franchise? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Oh, and we wanted to thank everyone who supported us in 2016. We've just passed 10,000 subscribers in effectively 3 months, which is insane. We'll be doing a proper channel update right at the beginning of the year, so keep an eye out for that. This is Lauren signing out. Have a good one, guys.